What's going on, everyone? So the Boston Celtics won last year's NBA championship after bringing in both Drew Holiday and Kristaps Porzingis, and it's not out of the realm of possibility that the Boston Celtics repeat, end up winning it again. Now, I do think that they have some more competition this year, particularly with the New York Knicks. Getting Mikal Bridges, they'll have a full season with the OG acquisition as well. Also, health hopefully will be better for the Knicks. I did think last season the Knicks were the second best team in the Eastern Conference. And I actually think that they would have, if healthy, have put up an interesting fight against Boston. I still think Boston was going to win and come out of the East, but I do think the Knicks might have, made things a little difficult. Boston was just never really tested last year. They kind of just ran through everybody. Rather than, you looked at previous years and it was kind of like, can Boston get over the hump if it's, if they're really pushed and tested? Like, what's their mental toughness look like, right? Where last year it was just like, every round, like, yeah, they might have lost, game one or whatever, but it was over in 5 every time, right? It wasn't that like, hey, game 6, minute left, down 5, you lose. You're going to a game 7, or, it wasn't that hard fought kind of playoff run. It was just like they just ran through everybody, which again, it's Boston's job to beat whoever's in front of them. It's that simple. I know a lot of people, they like talk about, Boston, they didn't play anybody or anything like that. Like, sure, but again, it's not Boston's job to decide who their opponent is. It's Boston's job to whoever ends up making it or whoever they end up facing, that's who it is. I would have loved to see Boston play Minnesota or, Denver, in particular Denver, in the NBA Finals and see like, hey, does Boston still win it? But Boston did what they were supposed to do. They got it done. But there's already all this kind of drama and almost controversy around the Boston Celtics, Jayson Tatum and Jaylen Brown, right? These two are incredible talents. These two guys are good, very well lead their own teams, respectively, right? But particularly with the Olympics, you saw Jaylen Brown ends up getting spurned entirely, doesn't even make the Olympic roster, and then Jayson Tatum just doesn't play. Now, look, Jayson Tatum didn't do himself any favors. I mean, for like months now at this point, Jayson Tatum's jump shot has been broken. It's the weirdest thing I think I've ever seen as far as like a star player goes, without like changing your shot or doing anything specific. Like to go from basically being absolute money to you can't make a shot to save your life is just really bizarre. But look, this season I expect Jayson Tatum to kind of get back into the flow of things. Jaylen Brown's going to kind of get back into the flow of things. But these two guys, yes, they can coexist. Yes, they very well could win another championship together. But how long until the breakup inevitably happens? And I don't mean in the sense of like, like a Shaq and Kobe where they just couldn't stand each other. And it was very public and very just chaotic, right? I don't mean anything like that. I think Jayson and Jaylen care for each other. I think that they genuinely have love for each other. But again, at what point does Jaylen go, okay, I want to do my own thing? At what point does he go, you know what, like, I'm not getting the attention and recognition and, I'm not getting the spotlight that I should be getting. And it's because I'm, second fiddle in Boston. Again, nothing against Jayson Tatum, but as long as he is in Boston, he is Pippen, right? He's never going to be Jordan. He's always going to be Pippen. And Jaylen's looking at it as like, dude, I won the Eastern Conference MVP. I won the Finals MVP. I was the best player in the playoffs for us. Like, I was the guy. But he's not better than Tatum, right? I think Jaylen Brown is very good. I do think that on the right team in the right environment, I do think that he could potentially be, your best player or, kind of your 1A like he is with Boston. But, does he at some point go, get me elsewhere, right? Because I think Jaylen Brown is the most likely to leave if that inevitably happens, right? And look, maybe it doesn't. maybe the two of them do end up deciding to ride it out and stick it together and try to win as many championships as possible. And, neither of them ever go elsewhere. I mean, that's always a possibility. But it just feels, particularly after this last offseason, it's just feeling more and more like it's heading in that direction, right? You just see all the posts from Jaylen and Jayson and guys like that. And it's just like, they won the championship. It was front and center for like 2 days after, and then that was it. No one cared, right? And it's just like, does Jaylen Brown at some point go to a team in which he gets the opportunity to be the leader, he gets the opportunity to be the guy, he gets the opportunity to try to go win other championships and be the guy, or is he fine with just kind of being number two? In his head, maybe he believes he's number one. And look, if you look at like personalities wise, Jaylen Brown is the guy, right? Like he has that killer instinct. He has, like, if you could take Jayson Tatum size and skill set and take Jaylen Brown's brain and instinct and just drive and put it in Tatum would undoubtedly be the best player in the league. Jayson Tatum might be an all-time great at that point, right? Because Jaylen Brown's the guy that has just that killer nature, that like, give me the ball and get out of my way, that dog, that leader, where Jayson Tatum, he's kind of, he can kind of fall back and disappear at times and kind of be passive and is willing to kind of just, play second fiddle. But he's the guy that has all the skill. He's the guy that is just an unbelievable talent, right? So to me, I think at some point Jaylen Brown is probably the guy that goes, you know what, it's time for me to go elsewhere. Where, maybe Jayson Tatum ends up being that. I just think Jayson Tatum probably stays in Boston. I think Jaylen Brown, again, Boston and the Celtics, that's Tatum's team, right? He is the guy. He is the best player. He gets all the praise, all of it, right? And, Jayson Tatum's 26, Jaylen Brown's 27, so they're still young. They still have a couple years together. They could kind of go through their contracts if they wanted to, and then just kind of, when that's done, kind of figure out, okay, do I want to stay in Boston? Do I want to go elsewhere, right? So I'm not saying that this happens tomorrow, but you got to imagine at some point, I just think that this marriage breaks up. I think Jayson Tatum, I don't see him leaving. I think he stays with the Celtics. In the same breath, it wouldn't completely shock me, right? I wouldn't be like, oh, wow, I never saw that coming, right? But I think he sticks around. I think Brown is the guy that goes, you know what? It's time for me to get out of here. It's time for me to go. It's time for me to go find elsewhere, and, again, maybe they, look, if they win another championship, I actually think it's more likely, right? Because, you could make an argument either way, right? You could say, well, if they don't win again in the next, 2-3 years, then yes, they'll probably definitely break up. The Celtics may even break it up, right? But I also think if they win another championship, you've seen it with duos in the league. And, even like Jordan, right? There's the argument of like, well, he never won without Pippen. He was the first round, right? Like, you get that narrative and that conversation going. And it's like what Kobe had to do without Shaq, right? First three, Shaq, he's the guy. Kobe's the second guy. Even though Kobe is the guy, is more the guy, mentality-wise. But Shaq is just so dominant and incredible. And then ultimately Shaq ends up leaving. And then Kobe stays, and then he ends up winning some championships, and he got the prove it moment of like, oh no, I am more than just Shaq. I told you I'm the guy, right? Like, I can see something similar. Again, I don't think it'll be as just, spiteful of a departure. I think it'll just kind of be like, hey, this has ran its course. We got a championship out of it, maybe two, maybe several. You never know, right? But also Boston. Another reason why I kind of lean towards Brown too is Boston's already tried to trade the guy. Boston's already explored. Now, granted, they weren't trying to trade him just to trade him. They weren't trying to trade him for, a bunch of role players or something. They were actively in conversations about trying to trade him was for Kevin Durant. And it was because they believe, Kevin Durant, Jayson Tatum, that could be enough to put you over the top, which that would have been very interesting. But, I think personally, you're going to see in the next 3 years, maybe more. But I don't see them separating when they're like 35. Like at that point, it's too late, right? Like I think by that year, when they're 30, maybe 32, kind of like that last run, like, okay, I got maybe 4 to 5 good years left. Let's go. That's when I think it happens. So I do think Boston's got a couple more years, but it also wouldn't surprise me that if this season doesn't go the way that they plan, this time next season, next off season, I could see one of them being elsewhere, particularly Jaylen Brown. But anyway, as always, this is a discussion, and I pass a question on you. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comments below. What do you think? What are your thoughts? Do you agree with me? Do you disagree with me? Do you think they're not going to break up? Band's going to stay together, and they're going to win multiple championships? Do you think no? One of them are probably going to leave at some point. It's probably going to be Jaylen Brown. Again, how you feel, whatever your thoughts are, I would love to hear it. So let me know down in the comments below. That being said, if you haven't liked this video, hit that like button. Helps me out. So we enjoy these types of videos, and I truly appreciate it. Not subscribe to the channel, hit that subscribe button. Turn on the bell notifications. Appreciate y'all. See you in the next one.